Hi, it's Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. This video is about the new tank that's been released for the Rank Battle season. It's going to be in the Rank Battle shop and will cost 15,000 bonds. That's a Tier 8 premium tank in the British heavy line. It's called the Charlemagne, and it was based on a design that came out in the 1950s, but I don't think it got turned into a production tank. So I'll give you a bit of information about the tank first and give you some of the stats, and then we'll have a look at some gameplay. Alrighty, so tank has got a large caliber gun. It's a 119.38 millimeter gun, so just under 120 millimeters. And I think if we go to the research thing, that might give us a bit more. So it's actually called the 120 millimeter low velocity gun, and it's called a low velocity gun because the shell velocity is absolutely slow. So we'll have a look at that in a second. Let's have a look at the picture again. Yep, so let's have a look. We've got the ammo switched around. So in the one slot, we've actually got the premium ammunition, and that's got a shell velocity that you can see 924 meters per second. And the standard shell is 597. So slow as a wet weekend, you'd call that. Just a little bit faster, I think, than the KV2 shells. But let's have a look at the damage is the main thing about this. So the actual average damage is 400, but we've got 220 millimeters pen with the standard round and 270 with the premium round. So actually pretty decent for a tier 8. Certainly let you play against tier 9s, but not so much tier 10s, although you can still pen probably the lower front plate of a mouse if you got the chance to aim in, and we'll come back to aiming in a second. So how have we fitted this out? Just because this is going to influence the tank stats, but let's talk about the effective crew skills, etc. So we've got a 3.5 skill crew here. So commander, we're just exercise. Everyone's got brothers in arms. That's probably the main thing. Snapshot on the gunner for the main gunnery skill. The driver's got smooth ride, and we're just training clutch braking. We've got repair skills on a few of them, and the loader has the radio operator skills as well. So we've got both stays, so it's trained as well as situational awareness. Now this is the crew out of my Super Conqueror, and it is a perfect match. So the crew skills line up, and as in the crew positions line up, and it's exactly the same crew layout. So that crew fits in without any change whatsoever. So that's a good thing. So it can be thought of as a crew trainer, but we'll get to that in a little while. In terms of equipment, we've put vents in the survivability slot to get the extra % bonus out of that. Not really worth running hardening, I don't think. Got gun RAM in for a reason, and that is that it's got a fairly long gun loading time. It's over 13 seconds as standard. And then we've put turbo in the third slot to give it a bit more mobility. Now, mobility is not bad, standard, but the gun handling is actually pretty reasonable in terms of any bloom on the move or gun traverse. So using a vertical stabilizers can be traded off against the turbo, and I think the turbo adds a bit more to the gameplay than the V-Stab might do. Now we're also running a directive for orderly ammo rack, which gives us an extra benefit with the loading time. So we'll look at the effect that has on the performance there. And we're also running food to get the extra benefit of crew skills. So we've dropped the fire extinguisher and haven't really seen a problem with fire, so that's definitely worth a trade-off. So let's have a look at the firepower first. So 440 is actually the average damage, not 400. So it's the same as a Defender, pretty much. And that's 220 pen with the standard rounds, of course. But here we go with the reload time, and then this comes down to DPM. So 4.69 rounds per minute, 12.79 seconds of loading time. And how have we brought that down? the directive takes off 0.37, the food takes off nearly 0.6 of a second, ventilation, gun rammer, and brothers in arms skills. So you can see that adds up to over 2 seconds. In fact, 2.6, nearly 3 seconds difference. So that would have been, 15.8 seconds roughly of load time without the benefit of any of those things. And if we have a look at the DPM, 2064 with all those bonuses. So it was around, I think, 1560 damage per minute without any of the crew skills or equipment bonuses, etc. The thing that comes free with the tank, of course, is the gun depression. So you get 10 degrees of gun depression, 15 degrees of elevation. That's not a big deal, but that 10 degrees of gun depression can really work in its favor. It does have a fairly narrow turret, and the gun mantlet itself is the strongest part. And if you have a look at the turret armor, that's 170 millimeters. You do have a bit of a weak spot here on the cupola, but the sides slope away pretty quickly. So it's actually only got this sort of area right around the side of the mantlet, which is the most easily penned part. But have a look at how the roof comes down in the middle. It does to a certain extent. So this is a low profile tank, by the way. It's a bit hard to tell, but when you look at it in battle, it's actually a lot smaller than the tanks around it for the same tier. So anyone who's slightly above can actually shoot down and overmatch typically the roof itself. So that can be a bit of something to worry about. But of course, if you're using the gun depression and you're at the bottom of the slope, then that's going to hide most of the cupola anyway, which is not too bad. And plus it puts your upper front plate at much more of an angle, which makes that harder to penetrate. So let's have another look at the most notable downsides. The aiming time, 3.06 seconds, and that's been brought down both with food and vents and brothers in arms skills. So that's well over 3.5 seconds of aim time without those benefits. So that definitely is something you've got to take into account. The snapshots make that a lot more difficult. The armor we looked at briefly, hull armor is 130, but again, if you're getting it into the slope positions or putting the tank slightly on an upslope if you can with rubble or something like that, that will help you improve that. Mobility, this is the other big change. It's a 45-ton tank, so this is pretty lightweight compared to most heavy tanks, and you can see it's called a breakthrough heavy tank. So that's probably down to the fact that the gun dispersion is so terrible. In fact, we didn't really look at that. Let's have a quick look back at that. 0.39, again, that's with bonuses. So that's taken off 0.03. So that would have been 0.42. I think it's actually, I thought it was higher than that, 0.44 maybe, but 0.42 at least without those bonuses. So it's not a sniping gun. You're certainly not a red line sniper. Mobility is useful. Now this engine powers with the turbocharger, of course, but even without that, it's 750 odd, and 750. So the specific power is actually, even without the turbo, is 16 or mid-16s, which is pretty decent for a heavy tank. Top speed without the turbo is 35, so it's added 4 kilometers per hour to that, and the reverse speed 15 without the turbo. So reasonable, but you'll find yourself backing off pretty often once you've fired because of the long reload. Concealment's not a problem. Spotting distance, so this is the other aspect. I think it's 380 is the base, but we've got the main radio operator skill at full training and recon, partly trained, brothers in arms and vents and pudding and tea, bring this up to 438 in its current configuration. So that sort of gives you an idea about the characteristics of the tank. Let's go and have a look at some gameplay. Okay, so we've got a few things in our favor here. We're top tier, which is good, and we're on a map where we can use our gun depression. So we're going to go into the middle, and let's see how the tank plays out in this. Now, we are running turbo, so we are moving a bit faster than normal, but you can just see we're just getting just under 40 kilometers per hour here, so there's about 4 km/h faster than the tank can run. Now just sort of pre-aiming here just in case that EBR tries to go up the top. But yeah, we missed the opportunity to do some damage to that light tank there. He just misjudged its position, so that's good. Okay, so now let's see how good this gun depression works. Well, that was a quick snapshot, but unfortunately didn't manage to aim in. So this is long aim time is going to be a bit of a problem as well. And Artie whizzes over the top. So you can see the long load time plays into this as well, so you've got to back off while you're loading, but similar to an auto loader. The time is actually about half of what the Skoda T56 takes to reload, but of course he gets 2 shells to do 920 hit points of damage, whereas we're doing 440 every 12 seconds or so. So a bit behind them, Skoda, in terms of DPM, but yeah, we'll see how we can go. Alright, now we've got a tier 7 there, so can we penetrate? Yes, we can. Now, we are using the premium shell here, so the penetration itself is not the problem. What we're using it for is basically the shell velocity. So 924 meters per second, whereas the standard shell's around just under 600 meters a second, which means you've moving targets, you've got to make quite a long lead for it. Alright, come out here, make a bit of a mistake, I think. We get lit and yeah, tagged by a scorpion. And luckily, eat a incoming shell from that SU-130 PM on our tracks, so that's not too bad in terms of the armour use. But I'm not sure if we'll poke around there again. Just seeing if we can pick up some of these targets here. Okay, oh, that AT-15A is climbing up nice and slowly. We should be able to get something into him, which we do. 410, so yeah, it's slightly above standard 400. Can we get another shot in? Well, first of all, he goes dark. And I think our reload's just a bit too long. We'll put a blind shot in, but we see the splash coming up, so it certainly didn't connect. So it's one of those things, you just got to try and take the shot if you think you're going to do it, but yeah, we could have got another shot in on him if we'd waited, I guess, so perhaps being impatient doesn't help. Ooh, AMX 1375, can we get a shot on him? No, not exactly, he's fully undercover. Yeah, this game is sort of in the balance a bit here. We snap a shot into the Basante. We've hit him both times, so the gun depression is working in that sense, but well, what's going on up here? Edelweiss, is he getting pushed by the Brigitte? He is. Oh, there we go, nice shot right through the middle. Pity we don't obliterate him, but that's a bit unfortunate for that Edelweiss driver. In any case, it's still pretty even game here in terms of hit points and tanks. That Basante's taking a bit of heat there from our Artie, so can we come up here? I'm getting spotted, doesn't look like it, so is it worth pushing in? That's the question. Or are we going to get tagged if we do that? Alright, let's give it a shot. Alright, get a nice high roll there, 499. Oh, that's lovely. Takes us up to 1800 hit points. And yeah, you're just backing off again while we're reloading, because there's plenty of time to reload. And oh, I've got some more targets up here. Can we get any line on them? Oh, there's the AT-15A. Can we get a shot? Hey, yeah, we get the kill. Now, I wouldn't put that down to the accuracy of the gun. That was a bit of RNG in our favour, I think. The shell velocity, one thing, but you know, the gun dispersion is 0.5 0.41 or 0.39. I think we'll have to check again in the garage what we got it down to. And again, with the longer reload, potentially you're missing out on some targets. We perhaps could have got something into there. Oh, SU-130PM, can we get a shot? Unfortunately, that's got defeated by the aim time there. You can see the aiming circle was coming in relatively slowly, and we just had to pull the trigger before it got down to its final size. So that's a bit unfortunate. We're just on just under 2k of damage here. And we're just trying to use this position basically just to get the most out of the gun depression. And we know there's tanks up there. You can see on the mini-map they're all clustered around there. Tank destroyers and even some tanks. There's a Pantera up there. Oh, it's the MX-1375. And here we are reloading while we've got an opportunity to shoot. It always happens. I get spotted again, so I'm not too keen on pushing up. Just going to have to deal with that. So it's one of the unfortunate things about this position. It doesn't give you too many angles to shoot at. I'm not getting spotted when we come up here, so that tells us that there's no one actually in those balconies up there. Oh, that's why that Pantera is behind the rock, so his vision points can't see us, whereas we got spotted there by the AMX, and Pantera comes around because we got spotted and we managed to tag him, so that was fortunate. So the game's turned around a little bit. Sort of putting in a blind shot there with a bit of a wish on it, and that unfortunately didn't pay off. And we got spotted again, so there's definitely someone looking out this way. T-28 HDC finally goes down, taken out by the arty, but not until he's destroyed the Jagdpanther there. And here we're just looking out to see whether we can get some more blind shot damage. But that Basante's coming around, we don't really want to go for him. But didn't get spotted as we fired that, so that again tells us that that area's been vacated. Perhaps we could have pushed around the Basante, but we'll leave him to it for the moment. And our tanks are starting to push in here, but yeah, still worried that there were quite a few elements up there on the hill where we're aiming at the moment. And the reason we're not getting spotted is we haven't fired, and they're probably behind bushes. Oh, finally the Basante gets taken out. Oh, that's good. And here we go, the Pantera comes out. We should be able to tag him, which we do. And we're lit, so we'll just sit behind this thing. Okay, we're dark now, so that means we can come out. Just trying to decide which way to go. What we're doing is pre-aiming ahead of where that Scorpion G is, just in case tanks have moved up in that direction and he spots them, then we might be able to shoot at them. Again, just taking our time, coming around the corner here. Well, actually they're down to 800 hit points, so I think this is pretty much game over. There's 2 tank destroyers left, and they're probably both in the same position. Scorpion hasn't spotted the SU-130PM, so we're going to push in here. And again, luckily we've got the turbocharger on, so we can make the most of coming across. Just crawling up the slope here. It does help that the tank's only 48 tonnes, so it does get a reasonable amount of mobility with the standard engine, but having the turbo helps as well, of course. There's the SU-130PM. It gets taken out by the VZ, so there's just the Scorpion G there, and we can see there's only 212 hit points left on the enemy side, so he's got them all. We're not going to get to 3k, but alright, we're going to get close, but it's assuming we can actually land this shot, and that's the next check. So quick snap, and we get the kill, beat the Scorpion G to it, so that's nice. Get the kill as well. It's only 2 kills, but just a fraction under 3k damage. So here are the results. 96,000 credits and 1617 experience. That's of course with premium. We've got 2 kills and just under 3,000 hit points of damage. So in terms of the overall, whoops, we came in 3rd position. So we were basically having targets lit for us, which meant that we weren't getting the full experience out of that. But damage-wise, actually top damage if we look at that. Is that right? Sort by damage. Yeah, okay, finished top on damage in that, which is interesting. Obviously on the other side, the SU-130PM did 3,700 damage, so we weren't going to get anywhere near high caliber, and yeah, we certainly weren't top experience, so gave us a 2nd class mastery badge there. So what was the economies of that? Now we were firing full premium there, so we still made money, but only 10,000 credits, so not a big money earner there when you're using premium. How well do we use the rounds though? We fired 17 shots, we only hit 11 times, so there were a few blind shots there, speculative blind shots as well. And of the 11 times we hit, we only penetrated 8 times, so a couple of times, if I recall, we were on the turret of the Basante, so they were snapshots and not really well aimed in. So about 2,977 hit points of damage, we did 1450 at more than 300 meters, so it's a bit surprising given how it's not supposed to be good at long distances. So maybe, yeah, with the extra cruise skills that it helps. We blocked 1,120, and again, that was partly due to the map conditions. So we're only showing the top of the turret, which is useful. But otherwise, yeah, that was probably our best game in it for the night, but we wanted to get you this view early. So what would we say about this tank? Well, I guess firstly, it's only really going to be available in the bond shop for ranked battles, so you're going to have to get to that level of ranked that gives you access to the bond shop. So it's not going to be there for everyone. It's not going to be in the premium shop, and you won't be able to buy it for gold. 15,000 bonds. Now, would you buy it? You'd have to be in a position where you had plenty of bonds and you'd already got your top level tanks that you wanted as Clan Wars rewards that you didn't need to accumulate bonds for. And also I think that you've already been using bonds to accumulate bonded equipment, so that 15,000 bonds, if you've got it left over, yeah, you might consider it, but it's a pretty average tank when it comes down to it. It's not a game changer. You can't really, pull too many rabbits out of your hat with this tank. It's opportunistic and it's a bit map dependent. So yeah, would I buy it? No, I don't think so. It's not going to be a consistent credit earner. You've got to be top tier, and you've got to have some nice juicy tier 7 and tier 6 targets even, so that you can use the standard ammunition and also be able to brawl pretty closely, so you're not too worried about the shell velocity. So I don't think it's going to be a big money earner, and also then I don't think it's going to have a real impact on your crew training as well. So 15,000 bonds, the problem is that you can buy a 121B for that sort of money, and you're getting a tier 10 tank for that sort of thing. So I think it's a bit overpriced in terms of bonds, and I think it's a borderline thing. But will you see people buy it? Certainly you will. There'll be people who are collecting British tanks, and there are people who would be saying, well, I'm buying it because I've reached that level, and I'm just going to use it to show that I've reached that level. Anyway, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the content. We'll have more good content through the week. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.